Let us look at this menace posed by Fulani Militias in Nigeria. But remember that it is very clear that the Fulani Militia of Nigerian extraction is the fourth most dangerous terrorist organization in the world. But the way it looks as if they will now have the world to contend with. Because currently, the world is already seriously against the activities. I will allow you to listen to statement that came from this video that came from US State Department condemning the activities of Fulani in Nigeria and what they stand for. So we're going to show that the world is aware of the nefarious activities of Fulani Militias in Nigeria. But watch the video first before we come back to further this conversation.
The largest dominant driver of conflict in the Middle Belt region is committed by Fulani extremists who appear driven in large part by ethno-religious chauvinism against mostly Christian farmers, though I do note that there are elsewhere Shia Muslims who are also victims, and that intra-Sunni conflicts also exist within the Muslim community as well. Nigerian Bishop William Avenya will testify today that, and I quote in part, "The mass slaughter of Christians in Nigeria's Middle Belt by every standard meets the criteria for a calculated genocide from the definition of the Genocide Convention." And yet he notes, and I quote him again, "No one has ever been arrested or questioned or prosecuted or convicted of any charge related to this spree of killings which has been going on for at least 5 years." In its November 18, 2020 report to the International Criminal Court, the Jubilee Campaign writes, and I quote in pertinent part, "Violence that has taken place in Nigeria's Middle Belt is spiraling out of control, costing the lives of thousands of civilians and destabilizing the country and region. The violence is often characterized as a, quote, intercommunal conflict between herders and farmers over natural resources. However, the well-worn label is now obsolete due to the increasing asymmetry in attacks, as well as the steadily increasing frequency and organizational planning of Fulani militant attacks against civilian targets." It's worth noting that what separates this situation from that of Boko Haram and the Islamic State, West Africa.
So you are welcome back. Having listened to him, I think it's not very clear that the world knows what happens in Nigeria. That is why I even say the president, talking about Senator Bola Tinubu, to use his good office to restructure Nigeria to the extent that Nigerians can heave a sigh of relief in terms of security of lives and property. Because if you allow state police, for instance, to work through restructuring, or you return Nigeria to old regional system, and you decentralize policing system, of course, the regions or the states, as the case may be, can determine how best they want to police their citizens, her citizens. And again, if the North is bent on all of this one Nigeria issue, I even want to even say, if the president can have the boldness, let us go for self-referendum. Because I understand that referendum is not a crime. It's not a crime in Nigeria or abroad. Because whether locally or internationally, it is a right of the people. I think that is why if you look at Article 1, subsection 2 of UN Charter, it states that one of the main purposes of United Nations and thus the Security Council is to develop friendly international relations based on respect for principle of equal rights and self-determination. I must tell you that the Nigerian government is already a signatory to this. So to that extent, even if the president wants to rely on this to say, okay, UN, United Nations, European Union, come and supervise a referendum, I don't think anybody will fault him for that, because it is already entrenched in our constitution. Hence, it has been ratified in Nigeria, though a UN charter. Then again, if we take attention to Article 20 of African Charter on Human and People's Rights, which Nigerian government is equally a signatory to. It's very clear. It said that all people have right to existence and an unquestionable and inalienable right to self-determination. Nigerian government is already a signatory to this as well. So to that extent, if the president rely on these two charter, the UN Charter and African Charter, to say, okay, UN, European Union, come and supervise a referendum in Nigeria, I don't think anybody will fault him. But the reason I'm saying this is not far-fetched, because every attempt of even this government to right the wrong of the past has always hit brick wall by opposition of northern figures. Look, if you catch your mind back to recently, when the government tried to, of course, rework the tax reform bills, the northern stakeholders were very vehement against it. The issue that has to do with the derivation, the issue that has to do with consumption, how places where goods are more consumed, where services are derived, should get more revenue. We saw the serious opposition from the north. We saw from Borno State that came from Babagala Zulum. We saw the one that came from Kano State that came from, of course, Kwankwaso himself, the leader of Kwankwasa movement and the leader of New Nigerian People's Party, how he accused federal government of trying to take away taxes or rather revenue from the north. We have seen even when the north, we accuse the current government of moving some department of CBN and other fund to Lagos State, and according to the government, it was to achieve efficiency and enhance productivity. So they read politics into every move of the government. And every attempt to right the wrong, they don't want to take it. We only note with concern the excesses of Fulani, as it has a very damaging impact on Nigeria. Because look at even the current Constitution Review, where the governor of Plateau State, talking about Mufwang, made a proposal for state police. And everybody without exception, perhaps except the Militia and Fulani, have agreed that there is every need to rejig our security architecture. Particularly the command and control system that comes from Abuja and trickles down to the grassroots is not working. Because all crime is local. So the locals must be integrated into the security architecture. So you begin to wonder, why will the Militia in that state oppose state police? So for me, it's a red point, it's a red flag that they know what happens when it comes to insecurity. That is why the bill that seeks to make even the Sultan of Sokoto a permanent chairman of the proposed bill on the National Council of Traditional Rulers is not acceptable. Because you are saying that what Osman Danfolo could not achieve during the jihad, that you want to achieve it through a bill. Because at no point in time was the Igbos or the people of South, or even the Middle Belt, all of them, talking about the Middle Belt, conquered by Osman Danfolo. So why will you not elevate a king, even if some people will say he's a spiritual leader, but his spiritual leadership does not extend to the eastern part of the country, does not extend to this south part of the country. Even if you say you have some Muslims in the south, in the south, their numbers is too small. Nobody says he should not lead those his members. But to say when you are talking about National Council of Traditional Rulers, that is quite different from religious institution. So that is why it's not acceptable by our standard. Because before the white men came to this part of the world, the people already had their own different monarchical system of government. And nobody was lording it over anybody. And even more so, as we understand that even the Fulani themselves came into this part of the world in sometime 14th century. Though around 18th century, they successfully established Sokoto Emirates, or rather the Sokoto Caliphate, of course, where the Sultan of Sokoto sits even currently as the Sultan. But it's not a record that they conquered South, conquered Southeast in their jihad. Even though the Afonja and Alimi, Janta Alimi issue gave, or rather they took over Ilore, but beyond Ilore, they could not extend beyond Ilore to any other southwestern part of the country. So that bill is unacceptable, and it must be consigned to the dustbin of history. And again, the West, I understand that they are doing their best in terms of resisting the Fulani. I understand that even the Sunday Bull, of course, someone I respect so much, looking at how he rose to prominence under Muhammadu Buhari, when we had the issue of Sadiq Ganga, who was reigning supreme, how Sunday Bull will rise up to fill the vacuum when the security agencies were not up and doing in addressing the security occasion by the same Sadiq Ganga. So the way it is, I think as a people, as a country, there's every need to reject the security architecture. So you cannot continue doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result. Especially where even recently we have seen the Militia approaching Southeastern governors, making a proposal to establish, of course, vigilante group. You begin to wonder, in an area where you are a visitor, in an area where that's alien to you, you want to lord it over the people, you are telling them that you are making a proposal for vigilante group. I think that's the height of affront. It's reprehensible. It's an insult. Good thing the governors roundly rejected it. But the boldness with which they even come out to say they want to do it is questionable. So I think the way it is currently, the country needs to be restructured so that the people can be policed appropriately and adequately. I must say, very thank you for time. This is Mr.